So we've got our first modules created. We've created our scene frames, but what I did forget is our camera confiners. They all need to be set to trigger. So if you want to highlight all of those under the frames and set them as triggers. Also, for some reason my transform messed up on the camera, but I'm going to leave it as is because it doesn't really matter, but you might want to go and, if yours has messed up like mine has, reset all of this to 0, 0, minus 10, but then you'll have to rearrange all of your tile maps. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Okay, so with those corrections made, with our confiners all set to triggers, we can look at implementing some basic player movement, just to check if our scene frames are working. So we need to create an empty game object, which we call player, and we'll add a rigid body 2D and freeze its rotation. We need to add a box collider, and like I say, as I don't have all the animations yet, if we go to sprites, we've got a temp player, so we'll drag that underneath there, and then we'll just set our box collider up to be the right size. I have to zoom in because I've made it a bit awkward with that lighting colour. Let me just turn that up a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, where was I? Box collider. Okay, we're also going to need an empty game object for our ground checker. And we'll duplicate that a couple more times. We want wall checker. And ledge checker. Right, okay. Now we can start adding our scripts. So we're dragging the player controller, and then we want the better jumping module and the collisions module. Let's set our jump full multiplier to 6. We'll set our radiuses to 0.25. We'll drag our ground checker in there. Now we can move and position that. And we'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I will check. If I can get the right one. It's going to want to go around about there somewhere. And our ledge checker. You'll need to tweak these to get them exactly correct. but we've got ground wall and ledge check, ground wall and ledge check. Need to set the layer mask to ground. Okay, and move the player down here somewhere. Okay, so now we can open up the player controller script and start adding some code. So the first thing we want to do is using Unity Engine dot input system. Then we want to put a comma after mono behavior and type controls. Oops, I'm all butterfingers again today. Dot iPlayer1 actions, and then click implement interface. And then if we cut those, because we don't need them there, we put those in our user methods. And we can delete the throw exceptions out. Right, we need some variables to start with. So we need a float for our move speed, a float for our jump force, a float for our gravity multiplier, and then a float for our jump multiplier for our variable height, which we're putting in the next lesson. Okay. We then need two floats, x and y. We've got a float for facing direction. We've got a reference to our collision script, a reference to the rigid body. We need a vector 2 to store any movement in, and a reference to our control schemes. Now we need to grab all of these references. So the first ones we want to do is create a new control scheme and get the callbacks and set the callbacks to use this script. We then need to enable and disable the control scheme. So I'll get rid of those two and paste those in. Let me zoom in a little bit better so you can see. So we've got controls.player1.enable, and on the disable, controls.player1disable. We then need to grab the references to the rigid body and the collisions in the start function. Okay, so we're going to get the collisions component, we're going to get the rigid body component, and then we're going to set the gravity scale to our gravity multiplier. Okay, in fixed update, we just want to move the player, so we've got RB velocity equals a new vector 2 Rx times move speed, and we'll keep the Y velocity as is. And then we just need to fill in this on movement script. Okay, we're going to set the movement vector and we're going to read the value that we set in our input actions. So movement equals controls.player1.movement.read value vector 2. And then we're going to set our x and y to the x and y from the vector 2 that we got. Okay, we should be able to save that. So we'll just go back up through. So these are our variables. So if you want to pause and type this out, go ahead. And there's the remaining variables. There's our awake and enable functions. There's our undisable and start. And there's the fix update and on movement. Okay, so now gravity multiplier can be 3. Where's my point light? Okay, we've assigned all of those. We've set all of those values up. So with a bit of luck, if we click play now, we should have some simple player movement, and touch wood, the scene frames will work. Nope. It's because I haven't tagged it as player. Don't forget, tag your player as player. Now let's try it again. That's into the middle frame. So we zoom out so we can see the frames going on. And that's into the end frame. So that's our basic movement implementation, and scene frames all sorted. I will wrap this episode up here. The next episode we'll fill in the rest of the platform control. We'll add jumping, flipping and stuff like that. I do have a walk animation that we can add, but we'll probably add those a bit later on. Like I say, I'm still waiting to get all of the animations, so we'll probably just use this temporary image until I can get them all. Right, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. You can join me in my Discord channel. I will see you in the next episode.